Welcome to Class Acts, the story of two people. One you might know, the other you probably don't. But both of them are class acts.
I'm Kathy Lette, author, deranged mum of two, frazzled feminist.
By the time you get into bed, the one thing you're fantasising about is sleep. And then you get the hand.
Kathy Lette is an Australian legend. With her childhood friend and classmate Gabriel Carey, she co-wrote the iconic Aussie teen novel Puberty Blues. Published in 1979 when Kathy was just 20, it caused sensation and scandal.
The writing's direct, enlightening and frightening.
As a teenager in the 80s, I devoured Kathy's first novel, Puberty Blues.
It was great for book sales. There were 2 books sold to every household. So the parents would be upstairs reading the book going, oh my God, is that my children? And the kids would be, down in their bedrooms reading the book under the bedspread with a torch going, oh my God, this is our life.
Before Kathy Lette was, Kathy Lette, this was Kathy, age 11, at a suburban public school not far from Sydney's Cronulla Beach.
I went to Sylvania Heights, infants and primary, where I was school captain and sports captain.
High school was a different story.
And then I went to Sylvania High, or I should say maximum security Sylvania High School, where I stayed till I was 16. We were wild and wicked and, we were often truanting down the creek and smoking and pulling bongs and all that silly teenage behaviour.
Puberty Blues is totally autobiographical. It's all true, and this is, of course, still the shocking thing for everybody.
Puberty Blues, the novel, and the 1981 film version don't paint the most inspiring picture of 1970s Australian education.
What I couldn't understand about school is they spend the first 5 years teaching you to talk and then the next 10 years telling you to shut up.
But Kathy also has some fonder memories of her experiences at high school.
And I think everybody's got one teacher who inspired them and they can think back that where one stands out. And for me and my girlfriends, it was definitely Mr. Adams.
I'm Rob Adams. I spent 40 years as a teacher with the Department of Education, New South Wales.
As well as being a lifelong teacher in the public system, Rob's also a product of public education.
It gave me an education that my parents could never have afforded. I came from a working class family. Father was a panel beater, spray painter in the local Ford garage. I certainly wouldn't be who I am without that opportunity. It sent me to a teachers' college where I came across wonderful people who opened my eyes.
Rob Adams graduated from Armidale Teachers College. The start of his teaching career was a long way away from Cronulla in the 70s and the world of Puberty Blues.
In 1964, I was appointed to a little one-teacher school called Upper Bingra. I had 14 kids in the class. There was no electricity, no telephone. The only heating was an open fire.
Upper Bingra was a one-teacher school. It was just Rob and the students, and the occasional visit from the Department of Education inspector.
Though the building and facilities are decidedly antique in appearance and electricity is not available, Mr. Adams is endeavouring to produce a school environment which, despite these handicaps, provides every opportunity for the youngsters in his care. So that's fairly flattering, I guess.
In fact, the young Rob made quite an impression.
He's a splendidly dressed young man of good bearing who prepares his work well and who uses his drawing talent to make his blackboard attractive. He has made a good start to his teaching career. I'm always amazed, entertained by being splendidly dressed. Well, yeah, I've probably got a streak of vanity, I don't know. Mr. Adams is a young man of pleasing appearance, still dresses well obviously, and personality who enjoys the respect of the community in which he lives and works.
Rob's teaching career eventually brought him to Sydney.
I started teaching at Sylvania High School in 1970. That was my transition from being a primary school teacher to becoming a high school teacher. I taught Kathy in years 9 and 10, and I taught her English.
Mr. Adams won us over from the moment he walked in. First of all, he looked so cool. He had, low-slung jeans.
I'm second on the right with long hair. That's me, yes.
And he had this fabulous hair. He had longish hair. This is at a time when the boys were being caned for having long hair at school. He had long hair. He looked like he'd just done a shampoo ad.
I did have the hairdo of the period.
So he was really hot. And so we all thought he was what we call in a shire a top spunk or a spunk rat.
Look, I remember that she was a lively person, very smart, very intelligent. She was fun. You need the sort of kids who will throw out a few challenges and get the other kids going. You had to be on your toes when you had Kathy in the class because she had a mischievous streak.
But for Kathy, Rob Adams' class offered something special.
He never made me feel small. He used to make me feel big, and it gave me confidence. And when I wrote my first novel, aged about 18, I don't know whether I would have had the confidence to have done that without his encouragement. What I loved about him is that he didn't talk down to us. From the minute he walked into the room, he treated us as equals. He didn't judge us. He didn't have a condescension chromosome. He did not talk down to us ever.
With a career spanning 4 decades, it's not just Kathy Lette who felt that way about Rob Adams.
Join with me in welcoming Distinguished Professor Larissa Behrendt.
I'm Larissa Behrendt. I'm Distinguished Professor at UTS. I'm also a filmmaker, a novelist and a broadcaster. And I was a graduate of Euahleyai High School in 1986. I found my time at Euahleyai High School complex. My brother and I were the only 2 kids at the school who identified as Aboriginal. I was almost living between 2 worlds, really. I did find an intellectual space within the school, very much within my studies around English and history. And of course, that's where Mr. Adams comes in.
You know often that you're teaching kids who are smarter than you are. You're just older and you have a bit more experience. I taught 3-unit English at Euahleyai High School about 1985, and Larissa Behrendt was one of the students. We knew that Larissa was going to go somewhere. I remember discussing Larissa in the staff room with other teachers, and that's a pleasure in teaching, to teach people of that calibre.
There were a lot of things I learnt from him that stayed with me for a really long time. First of all, he created an environment where I felt incredibly confident and where I could be myself. And in his class, through the way he taught with a real focus on self-expression in writing, I felt like that was a place where I could explore ideas that other people around me wouldn't get. The skills I learnt from English teachers, from Mr. Adams, about how to express myself, that really did equip me and make me feel like I could take on any stage and be an equal to other people who had a lot more advantages than I would have had.
Over the years, many of Rob's former students wrote to him.
Some of these cards are the best references I've ever had. Better than anything written by a school inspector. I just wanted to add an extra thank you for all the time you put into teaching our 2- and 3-unit classes. You're a great teacher, a nice person, who somehow even managed to make Alexander Pope interesting. Best wishes to you and your family for the future. And that's from Tricia Thorgood. Yeah, I remember Tricia. She was one of my 3-unit students. Mr. Robert Adams, you're unlike any other English teacher I've ever had. You're a teacher, deputy principal, but the best thing you are is a good friend. Your student, Melissa Lataro, she was one of my Year 7 students. I do remember Melissa. To Mr. Adams, thank you for being such a great deputy and a great friend. I will miss you, sir. From Sarah Winders in Year 9. What I really like is a great friend. Now, when kids say you're a friend, they mean they recognise that you care about them. Chokes me up to read this. you know, and I was a deputy principal, so I was responsible for much of the discipline in the school. You were seen as the tough guy, but they could see through that. And I like that. You have done a lot for this school and a lot for me. You really did have a good job here because you got to teach me. We will miss you. See you, sir. Kirsty. Now, Kirsty was a problem child. She was always in trouble, but she was a funny kid. Here's a kid that I would have disciplined any number of times, probably for being cheeky, for doing the wrong thing, probably smoking behind the toilet, who knows. But for all that, they know through it all, you care about them, and I think that's important. When I left that Year 7 class, as a throwaway line, I said to them, look, I'll come back to your formal. So 5 years later, there I was finishing near the end of my career, and I get a phone call to say that I had to go to a formal. Oh, sorry. And here they are, with me. That's my Year 7 class. At the formals. It was a great compliment that they hadn't forgotten me and hadn't forgotten that promise. Yeah, I'm proud of that photograph because it does show that you do make an impression on kids and they don't forget you.
Thank you notes and photos aren't the only things Rob Adams kept from his time as a teacher. He also kept some of Kathy Lette's creative writing from Sylvania High.
Funnily enough, I only ever kept a couple of pieces of creative writing by students, and by pure chance, or maybe it's not chance, one of the pieces I kept was a piece written by Kathy, and it's one of the only pieces of writing done by a student that I've still got, because I had it typed up to use with later classes to show them the kind of thing that they could do. I could point out to them this was written by a Year 10 student. You know, you show them work done by adult writers and they go, oh yeah, but that's an adult writer, you know, they can do that. And you say, no, this was written by someone your age. If you read that piece of writing, you can still see the existing Kathy in it. There's that, I can see Kathy's humour in it.
Oh, that's so flattering. I did not know that. Oh, gosh. Well, that's really touching. Yes, but also deeply embarrassing because it's so badly written. I can't believe you're making me read out an essay I wrote when I was 14 or something. Dinner was as disgusting as the accompanying anatomical conversations. What are you in for, dear? Oh, had your appendix removed. So's Esme in bed 4, very nasty that.
Drug time was a highlight of every day. A nurse with a tray full of pills and potions would come around like a cinema usherette. They let me out after 3 days, and I can't say I was sorry. Hospitals are rather better on the television, I've decided. Now, I really like that anticlimactic end.
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And when I say we love Bob, but we were still pretty slack students. I probably wrote that in 5 minutes flat the morning of the class.
I think I used that piece of writing over and over, probably for many years.
I can't believe you kept that essay, and I can't believe I'm seeing you again. Oh, my favourite teacher. I can only call you Mr. Adams.
Oh, no.
I don't think I can even call you Rob.
No, you've got to do that.
I might go on detention.
You've got it.
It's so nice to see you. You haven't changed.
Oh, yes.
Look at that smile. It's got exactly the same $1 million smile. It's just lovely to see you. What a treat. Oh.
It really is, actually.
Yeah,
It's not.
That's
It really
so
is
flattering.
great
You
to
kept
see
that
it.
essay of mine, and you
Yeah.
haven't even marked it with a red pencil.
Well, there's nothing to mark.
I wish my
You
editors were
don't-
like that
don't
now.
want-
And I can't thank you enough for all your encouragement when I was at school. And I think that's what gave me the confidence to write my first book.
Yeah,
That I had an adult teacher I admired who didn't think I was complete rubbish.
Well, you weren't.
Oh, well, thanks, you see? Aw.
And it was a pleasure to teach kids who liked what you taught. Yeah. Do you remember coming up, I think you came up to the staff room at Moorfield Girls High School because they filmed Puberty Blues there when I was the head teacher of English at Moorfield Girls. And you came to the staff room door.
And because I knew you
And
were
everybody went, he knows Kathy Lette.
and my friends were going, she saw Rob Adams, you know?
It was such fun, though.
It was such fun. It was
Yeah.
just joy to see you. And you still got exactly the same beautiful smile that used to light up the classroom.
I know you straight away.
And I'm still chatting.
She's still chatting.
Yeah.
She's still chatting.
What makes you a great teacher is that you never talk down to us. At that age, adults have a condescension chromosome and they're always talking down to kids.
Yeah.
And you just treated us like equals. And you would also come in with a joke. You always had a joke, a bit of a quip, a laugh. Once you get the class laughing, you've got them in the palm of your hand.
Sense of humour is important.
Isn't it?
And of course,
Yeah.
you were a great help there.
I can never get used to calling you by your first name as the first thing.
It is funny, isn't it? You better switch over to Rob straight away. Back there when you were, 17, I suppose, you weren't loud, but I could see a deep thinker. Yeah, I could. When you did speak, it was worth listening.
I felt like I got that. I guess my reflection would be that a teacher gives so generously, they probably don't realise just how much impact it has when they create a space for a student in that way.
I must say I'm so grateful that you came in today because it just makes everything I did worthwhile.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
No, it really does. And I'm so chuffed to find that the things I loved, some of the things I loved became the things you love.
It's wonderful to have a chance to be able to go back to a teacher and say, actually, you made a huge difference in my life, because I guess they rarely get to hear that, even though a lot of people can name that one teacher who made all the difference to them.
I'm proud to have been part of the New South Wales public education system for 40 years because I think it's the greatest vehicle for advancement of every individual. The public education system caters for everybody. I don't think I've had an experience as rewarding as this for a long time. And you just feel you weren't a big part of what they did. They've done so much since and so much before, but you were there, just a little bit of it. And that's enough for me. So I'm really grateful. I won't forget this.
If you'd like to pay tribute to a teacher who helped you, get in touch with Class Acts. Because no matter what it was or when it happened, whether it was a big thing or a small one, recognising the contributions of others and expressing gratitude for them is a class act.